Now, so far, we've been talking a lot about parameters and arguments. You've probably heard me say both in various videos. So let's talk really quickly about the difference between parameters and arguments in functions. It's important to know the difference so that you don't feel confused when you hear either word. And sometimes they're used in somewhat interchangeably ways, or they seem like they might be used in interchangeably ways. And that's because they are very much connected. So let's take a look. So parameters versus arguments and functions. If we have a function, a very simple function even, if it has a parameter is a place for you to plug in a value that the function needs in order to execute its work. So for example, in the case of the add numbers function, we had two parameters defined where they were two slots basically, where we would give two integers that were to be used in the function. And when a function has a parameter, it's usually required. There are ways to specify default values in the parameters, but we're not there yet. But just know that if a function has a parameter, it's an empty space. It's a container that the function needs to be filled in order to run properly. So what do we fill the parameter with? An argument. So the argument is actually what fills that parameter space in the function. So in the case of the add numbers function that we've been talking about, we have the parameters, which are two slots that are intended to be integers. And when we call that function, we have to give it two integers. So the slots themselves are parameters. And when we call the function, the numbers that we actually give that function when it's being called are called arguments. So the arguments actually go into the parameter slot in order for the function to run properly. So again, for the add numbers function, it looks like this. We had two parameters, int a and int b, and those are used in the function. So I create the function add number with int a and int b as parameters. Those are used inside the function, so they're important to the function, and they're important to the final result. So when I call the function, I'm required to give that function two numbers as arguments. So int a and int b are parameters, and in this case, the numbers 5 and 6, when I call add numbers, those are arguments. So that's the relationship between arguments and functions, and it's not too complicated, but sometimes people confuse one for the other or wonder why we have two words that seem to mean something very similar or even the same thing, and that's the deal with those. So we have parameters and arguments. Arguments are the ones that we use or that we give to the function when we call the function.